everyone, welcome back to DreamForge, where we talk about writing, futurism, and the strange and wonderful creatures we call humanity. I'm Scott Knoll, and I'd like to welcome you to consider everything from the amazing to the impossible, and why the human adventure is just beginning. Today, I'm thinking about the writers who submit their works to DreamForge, many of them first-time or beginning writers with little experience but with high hopes, offering us the best their talents can produce. Unfortunately, on a good day, we have the budget to publish only 2 to 3% of what we receive. And we can't say that we always publish the best stories, because we never agree on exactly what those are. As editor, I just make the final call on some very good pieces that we enjoyed, and that we hope our readers will enjoy too. Not everyone agrees with those choices. Certainly not always the critics. Think about that 2%. That means we disappointed 98% of our hopeful contributors. From what I can tell, this doesn't seem out of bounds. On a website called fictionwritersmentor.com, I found this. Editors and publishers agree that the odds of being published are only 1 to 2%, that they only accept and publish 1 or 2 out of every 100 manuscripts they receive. Even though we can only publish a small percentage, that percentage is usually from people who have been writing, learning, failing, and writing again for years to hone their craft. You might still think such a rejection rate is insane. I mean, where else in life would you get a 98% failure rate at, turning professional? Well, 1.6% of college-level football players get drafted into the NFL. 3 to 5% of martial artists go on to earn black belts. In basketball, only about 1% of college players turn pro. 1 in 500,000 athletes make it to the Olympics, and that's a percentage with a lot of zeros. I'm sure you know that years of back-breaking and heartbreaking labor went into getting to the top in each of those examples, and it's the same for writing. And keep in mind, most black belts don't make any money. Olympians are not paid, and only have a chance at sponsorships if they win medals. So you can be in the top 0.002% of athletes, and still be in it largely for the glory. Yes, I know, this is not exactly an apples-to-apples analogy, and different sources may have different research on the numbers. Also, when it comes to getting published, book writers may have better odds than magazine submissions, with a 2014 Writer's Digest survey indicating that of 9,000 respondents, 23% of those who completed their manuscripts eventually went on to find a traditional publisher. But whether a manuscript rejection rate is 77% or 98%, the idea is the same. Rejection is the norm, especially to start. No one is rejecting you as a person, they simply haven't selected your story to publish for a variety of reasons. But that's another video. The message. Did I look up all those numbers just to be depressing or to prove how difficult it is to make a living writing? No, actually, I had a different plan. The one thing all those athletic activities have in common is that no one tells the participants that they're wasting their time unless they make it into the top 1 or 2%. Those 500,000 athletes to every one Olympian, they still do their thing and most often enjoy the respect of their peers and social groups. Society as a whole encourages participation in football, baseball, basketball, martial arts, and athletics in general as a good thing. And it is a good thing. Putting aside the possibility of injury, which, is a thing, it can be life-changing to be in sports. There are friendship, socialization, discipline, competition, and lessons in determination and perseverance that aid in life success. The same is true for writing, and that should be recognized by the greater society, and I wish it were. If you write fiction and you're a beginner or a long-time writer without a sale, or you make money but not a living, or you make a living at your writing, but you're not a rich superstar, keep writing. Writing and crafting fiction brings much more to your personal growth and self-worth than how much you get paid, or whether you get paid at all. Don't let someone tell you it's ridiculous to write if you don't get paid, unless they think that kids playing baseball is ridiculous too, because most of them are never going to make the majors. The honing of important skills in a community of players for fun and well-being is there for you too. And best of all, your brain isn't going to wear out as fast as those athletes' knees. So you have a lifetime of enjoyment to look forward to, and always the chance of a sale. A famous Stephen King quote goes like this: "I think I was 40 before I realized that almost every writer of fiction or poetry who has ever published a line has been accused by someone of wasting his or her God-given talent. If you write, or paint, or dance, or sculpt, or sing, I suppose, someone will try to make you feel lousy about it. That's all." Why write if you're not in the top 2%? If your core motives for writing are validation, attention, and money, writing is probably not the right game for you. Almost any other method of achieving the same results is easier. Writing is great to help you process emotions and stress, to provide self-therapy in dealing with conflict and uncertainty, to create a safe space or refuge of the imagination, to expand your fandom and your appreciation of the shows and movies that you love, and to give new dimensions to your gaming and role-playing. Just writing is a rich and vibrant escape from the everyday. I personally get more enjoyment out of writing than reading, because I'm involved in crafting the adventure, and I still want to know how it turns out. Just while I was working on this episode, I received an email from a family caregiver who has very little time to write, but had this to say: "I gain a lot of sanity and calmness from this craft." Why would anyone downgrade or throw that away just because they're not getting paid? One thing that writing is great at is to help you think better and more precisely. I especially appreciate that last one. Writing forces you to be more accurate and unambiguous with your ideas and how they relate to one another. And if you can't explain something or craft ideas well on the page, you probably don't know it as well as you think you do, in the unchallenged comfort of your own thoughts. If you are a writer, write. If you know a writer, celebrate their craft. They are exercising a part of their brain that helps make them the best version of themselves. If you are a writer, don't expect your friends and family to read everything that you write. If you were a martial artist, you wouldn't invite them to watch white belt practice at the dojang every week. If you were a musician, you wouldn't want them to listen to every tune-up session. But you might expect a celebration when you make black belt, or get to play that violin at a public performance. The odds do get better. Of course, writing, like the sports we highlighted earlier, is a skill-based profession. The more you do, the more you learn, the longer you practice, the more likely it is that you will make a sale. Even though the odds are small, you shouldn't just consign yourself to rejection. However, you do need to fall in love with the work and learning about the work. And the more you build your skills and the quality of your product, the more chance you will have of making a sale. At first, those sales may seem random and far apart, because you've hit the mark, but you're not quite sure how, and you find success a little difficult to duplicate. Once you have more mastery of the craft, those sales will come more often. That's why you see the same names making multiple sales to magazines over time. Of course it's hard, but don't beat yourself up because it's hard. You're going to need skill, perseverance, and yes, some luck to succeed, especially if your goal is to become a pro earning a living at writing. In fact, making a living at writing takes more than just a demonstrated ability to write. That's like running a small business, with all the need to understand contracts, build a network of connections, and, promote yourself and build a brand. And that's more than I can cover in this one video. I will give you some resources to consider, though, so check for some links in the description below. For some extra reading, here are 2 good links. Killing the Sacred Cows of Publishing, Only 300 Writers Make a Living, by Dean Wesley Smith. And Everything I've Learned from 6 Years of Writing for a Living, by Jeff Goins. Links are in the description. The Truth of Writing. Dear writers, you're going to get a lot of rejections. At DreamForge, we like to say we return your story, because there's not a hard line between rejection and acceptance. There's a no man's land and a combat zone. There's a budget, there's a deadline, and for every 1,000 stories we receive, we're only going to be able to buy about 20. But that's not a reason to be discouraged. Not if you truly love to write. In Walden, Henry David Thoreau wrote, "Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth." Writing can help us get to that truth. And I don't mean truth with a little t, but rather the great overarching truth of who we are as human beings and our place both in humanity and the universe. Write then, write like your inner life depended on it. And when you do make a sale, to us or to anyone, let's celebrate. That's a really cool thing, and just a bit rare. Become a Dreamcaster. Hey, if you like to write science fiction and fantasy, and you want to hang around with other writers and learn some skills to improve your writing, join our Dreamcaster group and support us on Patreon. Your support goes to pay for those writers whose works we do accept for publication, and we pay all the rest of the bills ourselves. If you like to read positive fiction, subscribe to DreamForge Anvil, or buy DreamForge magazine on Amazon. Links are in the description. In closing, remember, the human adventure is just beginning, and you are a part of that adventure. I wish you all the best, and please, imagine the best for all of us.